explain myself.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of DGXM podcast with Rock and Dea. We're so happy to bring back yet another Albanian trailblazer onto this episode, and we're super happy to highlight stories of people and communities who are young and they're courageous and they're taking up amazing leadership roles. Here we have Hakim Budzaku. Hakim is the president and now the youngest ever president of Shoqata Atdhetare Dibra. And he has been leading this organization for a couple of months now, but he's already created a new vision and plan for the future and what the community is going to receive from this organization. Other than that, he is a 23-year-old entrepreneur who has been making waves in his own community through his entrepreneurial skills. So welcome, Hakim.
Welcome, welcome.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good, man. How you doing?
Hakim, where are you based in right now?
Right now, I'm in New Jersey.
Jersey, the Garden State.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's better than Jersey, right?
Some may argue New York, but I love Jersey.
Well, I'm not in New York. I'm in DC. Rock is not in New York. He's in Connecticut, but a good portion of our base is in New York. That's true. But Jersey is really interesting because there's a really big Albanian community and an identifiable and active Albanian community, one of which you're a part of. So where are you from originally in Albania? Where are your origins from?
Yeah, so my family comes from Dibra and Made. My grandparents came from there. They immigrated in the 1970s. My father was actually born here in America, in Staten Island. And so that makes me second generation over here.
Oh, wow. What's it like growing up as a second generation Albanian here?
You know, it was weird because growing up in a household where we still maintained a lot of our traditions and our our culture, I got to live the best of both worlds. I got to experience that Albanian side to my life while still being raised in an American lifestyle. Because my father, we spoke English in the house,
Okay.
but we still had that culture, the vibe, the family vibes, the togetherness of the traditions we always carry tight.
That's
Nice.
great. So you're so involved in the Albanian community that you're even part of an Albanian organization. Can you explain to us what Shoqata Atdhetare Dibra is?
Yeah, so it's just a cultural organization used to preserve our heritage and really to run events to help bring our people together.
And what type of events are they? More like just like family type of events, or like how can I say it? Politics, or what goes on in these events?
So we try to stay away from politics as much as possible, but historically we've it depends on what time you're asking about. Early on in the 1980s, the organization was used to send funds overseas to help our people back home, donating money to the hospital for healthcare and whatnot. And then you go towards the 1990s, towards the end of the 1990s, during that whole war overseas in Kosovo. We used a lot of our resources to set up demonstrations and protests down to Washington, D.C. And then now, more recently, over the last decade or so, we've kind of evolved into running events for our families, getting together, picnics, sporting events, trips, and we've done a lot of great things.
Okay.
And is this all based in Jersey that you guys do this, or do you guys go around in like New York, Connecticut? Is this
So the organization
there?
actually, it was mostly New York, Staten Island. Mostly was started in, but we don't pick. For people, it's for everyone in the area. If you want to come to Staten Island, you come to Staten Island. More recently, because I live in Jersey, and a lot of the D-Block community has kind of shifted toward Jersey. We try to do both now.
Okay.
So you
like that.
are a community-based organization that is centered on Albanian heritage and celebrating the Albanian culture in the area that you're in. Would that accurately describe what Shoqata Atdhetare Dibra is?
Yeah.
And a lot of your members are from Dibra or Dibra Emade, which for those who are following us who've never heard of before, it's the portion of Dibra that's in modern day Macedonia.
Yep.
And how are you connected back to the homeland or Dibra back home? Do you have involvement with the community, or do you do trips abroad to visit where you're from?
Yeah, so me on a personal level, I've gotten the privilege of traveling there a few times. I just actually went there this summer, and it was great. It was a great experience. Loved it. Nothing, feels better than, going back where most of your family spent their time, your ancestors, that's where they kind of came from. And it was a truly spiritual journey. I loved it. In terms of the connections with everybody back home, we're all family. We all know one another. We all constantly communicate, and we try to set up as many things over here to help out over there, and stay in touch, stay connected.
Okay. So the organization, how long has it been active in America? And can you explain to us a bit about the leadership structure and when you became president?
Sure. So there's a little discrepancy here because I was doing my research. The organization was founded in 1996, but if you speak to a lot of the older people, um, they said this started way before that, like in 1882, 83.
Really?
Yes. So there was a issue in Dibra where the hospitals were struggling for equipment and material for people back there. So a group of people from here got together and said, "Hey, how can we help? How can we send money over there?" And they essentially said, "Listen, you have to do it legally. You have to do it the right way. So we have to open up an organization."
Okay.
So a group of guys got together, and that's kind of where it started from.
Okay. So potentially as old as 1882,
Hmm.
but then formalized later on.
Yes.
Active organization. That's quite the history and quite the track record. That could be one of the oldest Albanian organizations that's functional in the US, and you are currently leading it. So when did you become president of the organization?
So I officially became president October 6th. We held a meeting, an election, so to say, where we had a good turnout, around 40 to 50 people. And I delivered a speech and told them what I was passionate about and gave them my vision. And they believed in me, they voted for me, and here I am.
Okay, so they were on board. And can you tell us what that vision was? Like, give us an elevator pitch of your speech.
Yeah, sure. Historically, the organization has done such a good job running events as of recent with the picnics, the sporting events, and the trips. And I want to stay true to what it's done in the past. I don't want to change too much. So we're going to continue to run those. And I want to add a little spark to it, add a little youth to it, and really run it at the highest level that we can, using social media and using all the people that we know and all the resources and really taking this to the next level. So we want to stay true to that, but there's also a lot of new things we want to add. One thing I noticed with the way Shoqata was ran in the past was these events. They're the cornerstone of our organization, and they've done so well, and they're great. I love them. Let's keep doing them. But more importantly, those events are almost like one and done. Like you go to the event, you meet people, and you say, "Wow, I had a great time," and then you go home and back to normal, right? So now I want to kind of aim towards something more sustainable, something that's going to last, past me, past the next generation. We want to build a culture. We want to help and educate and lead and guide the youth. So we want to set up programs for the younger people, provide them opportunities that, some of us may not have had growing up. For example, like athletics, a lot of us don't really get a fair opportunity at really trying our best just because we don't have the resources or the coaching or whatnot to really push ourselves to, to that level that we need to be to get to the professional level. That's one aspect. In terms of education as well, providing tutoring and guiding people towards making the right decisions for college and helping with grants and scholarships and whatnot, which are some resources that some of us may not have had. So just really granting as much opportunity to the younger people as possible. And also I want to really emphasize learning from the older people. So anyone who wants to be a mentor and guide the youth, we would love to help connect and bridge that gap.
Before I turn it over to Rock to have his questions on the organization, what I really like about what you're speaking about is that it seems that the organization is focused on development. So today we're hearing an organization pop up like left and right, and they're like, oh, this part of Albania, this part of Albania, it's fantastic. But then you look at the trajectory, it's like, how is the involvement evolving? Who are they servicing? What are the benefits of the donations and the actual time that's put into developing the space? And it seems that your organization has a track record of providing mentorships, of leading the community with these events. And the important thing about these events is that they keep the culture strong. You know, they allow you to stay true to your roots and connect with your community, even if you are a second generation Albanian, to really understand where you come from and what the value of it is. So thanks for sharing that. And I'll pass that over to Rock.
Yeah, no, and I've definitely heard that he was given some of these short-term goals. Some of them could probably be long-term, but what is one big, like, primary long-term goal that you have with your organization?
Yeah, so I think number one long-term plan, it's a common goal for all of these organizations, is to build a community center. I feel like the community center is very impactful. It does a lot for us, right? So if you look at the financial aspect of things, we're renting out classrooms, we're renting out sports fields, we're renting out a lot of these spaces, and giving out money to, you know, people outside of our community. So a community center will help in that aspect financially, because now we're bringing, you know, money more into our community and it helps circulate. And then in terms of a place of gathering, you know, social aspect of it, being around people, you know, in this community as well is very important.
Yeah.
Then also in terms of like classrooms, offices, you got your sports facilities in there, and then a really important one to me, I think, is a library. You know, being able to document a lot of stuff. There's a lot of books back home that we don't have access to over here. I think it's very important to bring those books over, and I think we should really start writing more. I don't know how many people are out there writing about our history or, you know, our lineage or our heritage, but I feel like it's kind of a lost art nowadays, and I feel like it's really important, and I feel like we need to bring that kind of culture back of documenting and studying and reading.
That's a really good point. How will culture be kept alive if you don't keep on creating it?
Mhm.
I always say that culture is not a noun, it's a verb. It's constantly happening and it's evolving. And if you don't continue doing it, whether it be cooking, literature, community events, or whatever you are organizing, it's not going to sustain, it's not going to be around. So that's the importance of having a cultural center for people to be able to come and say, I'm a writer, I can document, I can continue this tradition that we've created. But I want to understand why you became interested in wanting to preserve the culture. You are young, you're starting out your career in your entrepreneurial journey. What makes you want to give time to being Albanian?
For sure. This one, there's two ways I could go with this, right? It's it kind of goes both ways on the timeline, ready? It's respect to the older generation and the love and admiration I have for the sacrifices that they've made to get us to this point, and remembering them and remembering why they did it and remembering the fact that they sacrificed. For example, my great great grandfather or my great grandfather, he never met me. You know, my sister, you know, was around at that time, my older sister and whatnot, and he got to see a few of my older family members, but he never met me. But hearing the stories and hearing the sacrifice that he made and hearing what he contributed to the community is an inspiration to me. And I've never even met the man. So that kind of reverberates, you know, in my soul, because this is someone I've never met, and he's had such a big impact on my life, right? And
Yeah.
then so that kind of leads to the future generations, you know? What are we leaving behind for the future generations? Is my great great grandkids going to remember me? Are stories going to be told about me to my great great grandkids?
Mhm. What is the story of your great grandfather or grandfather? Could you tell us what those sacrifices were and what his journey was like?
For sure. So first we gotta do a little history here.
Sure.
Staten Island. It goes back to Staten Island, right? So in 1961, I believe, we had one of the first Dibran immigrants come to Staten Island. I think this is well documented as well. I could be wrong, so don't take my word for it, but I believe this is the first documented Dibran that's ever came to Staten Island. He happens to be my great uncle, or somewhere down that line. And that kind of led to a lot of the families from Dibra coming as well, which ended up being my grandfather. He came a little bit later, like 1972. And all these people came and they established, they settled down, and they opened up a mosque in Staten Island on the Van Duzer Street. So I'm not sure who the first appointed imam was there, but eventually my great grandfather became the imam in that mosque and led a generation of younger Ibrans in Staten Island in America. And he dedicated his life to studying and teaching the youth and guiding a lot of these younger people. And if you ask a lot of people around who were here early on in Staten Island, they'll tell you stories about him. They'll tell you what kind of soul he was. They'll tell you how he was. He was straightforward. He told you how it was. He never beat around the bush. And a lot of people looked up to him. So, you know, it goes a long way. And it's a major part of Staten Island, the Dibra Staten Island history. Okay. And the story goes on. They ended up building the mosque in Victory Boulevard, and we continue to dedicate our work to the community.
I like that. I like that. I think the first mosque in the United States too, a lot of people don't know this, was built by Albanians too, I think in Massachusetts or something like that.
Really?
First mosque
Yeah.
America. I did not know that. I should probably know that. Built by Albanians?
In Massachusetts. So that's your part of the realm.
Well, yeah, that's right. Good old Boston.
Yeah.
So just having that story of your grandfather, and you didn't give us his name, or I didn't catch it. Could you repeat it?
So my great grandfather is Amadan Verlaku, and then my grandfather. So my great grandfather is actually from my grandma's side, so he's not gonna have the same last name. But my grandfather is Majid Budzaku. He married the imam's daughter, Amadan's daughter, essentially. So that's how the two line up.
Okay. So it's a very imam heavy family. And are you continuing that history of religiosity or spirituality in your own practice? So, and you don't have to answer if you don't like, but
I mean, listen, I have a lot of stories personal to me that I've heard, and experiences that I have, and moments in my life that I can't ignore it. The spirituality of the religion and whatnot. I can't. It's a part of me. It's ingrained into me. It's my fabric. You know what I mean? It's why I wake up every morning. It's why I drive and do the certain things the way that I do it. Every decision I make is God conscious. Thank God, alhamdulillah, like that's how I think. So
beautiful. And to have that understanding at this point in time, I think it's only going to elevate you. I was looking at Rock's mentioning of the first mosque. I think Maine has us beat by just a little bit, but it looks like it may have been, discovered or created.
I think it's Maine. I think it's Maine or Massachusetts. It could be one of those.
So it's interesting because there's several mosques that claim to be the first mosques in America. There's one in Dakota, North Dakota, Maine, Massachusetts. So in the next episode, Hakim is going to look up the whole history of mosques in America, and he's going to present on it. And hopefully the first one was in fact Albanian. But that's really good to hear. Talking about spirituality and religion is something I never shy away from, because it's such an integral part of who I am and how I'm conscious about how I live my life as well. So it's really nice to see people that understand it and are able to talk about the fact that religion and spirituality actually gives them more freedom and opportunity in life, because there's a misconception about it being restricting or limiting of freedom, but it's actually the opposite. And that's another discussion altogether. But I want to hear a bit more about your upcoming plans with the organization, maybe in the next year, and give you an opportunity to pitch in any events that you guys might be planning, whether now or in 2025.
For sure. We do have an agenda for 2025. Me and my team have gone together and done extensive work. A lot of work, a lot of work. We got meetings almost every single night at this point, setting up events. Some things we can't obviously disclose because it's not official yet, and I don't want to say things that are, not official and then back out of it and whatnot. So I'm going to disclose what we can disclose for now. In terms of the athletics, I think a lot of our athletes are going to be excited for what we got coming for 2025. We have a soccer tournament, basketball tournament, volleyball. We're going to set up kids programs for athletics as well, like an 8-week program where we get all the kids together and they kind of try a different sport every week. That's going to be fun and enjoyable.
What are the age groups going to be for all these athletics?
So for the tournament, it's going to be adults. And then for the youth programs, the youth class, the 8-week program that we're planning on doing is kid-friendly elementary school, middle school. We haven't disclosed like the age yet, but kid-friendly. There's no age limit, I would say, as long as you're able to run and play and not get hurt. Hopefully, you could play.
I don't know, a bunch of Albanians on the field playing soccer. Someone might get hurt.
It's good. We got great staff. We got great guys, and I'm sure they'll be able to handle it. Also, we want to look into sponsoring teams for the youth as well. Sponsor travel teams and have them coached up by the right people and give them an opportunity to be a part of a team. I think being a part of a team is very important. Teaches you a lot of lessons and can teach you a lot.
Great. So we have athletics, and you also mentioned a bit about education and helping students pursue or find out the right route, whether it be in a professional path or business path, or actually going to higher education. How are you assisting with that?
Yeah, so we're currently in talks with a lot of these people who are well connected and experienced and educated. We want to be able to connect the dots, right? So if you're interested in healthcare, here's the guy, here's who you should call. She's educated, has a PhD in this and that, and she could give you advice. In terms of like grants and scholarships like that, we have people who are good with research and know the right angles to attack for the right person and whatnot. So that's more of a person-to-person thing where it's like, hey, listen, you call us or email us or message us and say, hey, I need help with this and that, and we're going to try our best to help you, because this is what it's about: community, resources, and helping each other out.
Okay. And of course, I have to ask this question because I'm an Albanian woman, and I'm sure there's Albanian women that are interested in getting involved. Do you do any specific kind of programming or community engagement to help empower Albanian women specifically?
We're working on events for Albanian women for sure. In terms of empowerment and specific to women, most of our events are all of our events are all inclusive, to be honest with you. A lot of people, we've gotten feedback in the past because I've done basketball tournaments in the past and athletics, and like, oh, what about the women and whatnot? Listen, we never excluded anyone. We are all inclusive for everything. We would love for anyone to participate. In terms of like running their own exclusive events, and we are working on programs for that too, and events for that as well. And I'm actually very excited about one of them, but I cannot announce it yet. I think it's going to be our biggest, the best women's event. I'm really passionate about it. I really think it's going to do very well, and I think it's going to set the bar really high.
Well, I'm glad I asked that question then, because we are very excited to be expecting an Albanian women's event from Shoqata Atdhetare. Dibra, that's amazing to hear. And it seems like you guys have very concrete departments that are very well organized when it comes to community engagement and effective networking, because you have networking events where people meet very superficially, but it looks like you really connect people to get things done and be productive.
Now can I ask one question? For your organization, do I have to be from Dibra to join your organization?
I was about to ask that question. Are we allowed?
Of course, we are all inclusive. There's no separating people from each other. And listen, we're here to create unity, and we're here to create togetherness. In terms of like why it's obviously more focused towards Dibra is more on like a humanitarian level, I guess, because we're all from there and whatnot, and we send a lot of money back there to help, and we try to organize a lot of things there as well. So I feel like that's where it's kind of rooted from. But if you're in Staten Island, New Jersey, or in this area, listen, we are all inclusive. Join our events, please. We would like to have everybody there. We like to collaborate with other organizations as well. There's definitely no divisiveness or exclusivity to just Dibra.
You just happen to be from Dibra, and so are your neighbors, and you guys made an organization.
Exactly.
So being from Dibra and being from the Macedonian part of Dibra, which you mentioned, can you share with us a couple of sayings that are very particular to you guys? I know that you grew up speaking English in the household, but that you're very connected with your Albanian culture. So give us some Dibran lingo, some Dibran Macedonian Albanian lingo.
For sure. So actually, this is one of the most funniest things in our culture is like these sayings, right? My mom just could list them off the top of her head. Every time I do something, she gives me these sayings and these sayings and these sayings. I'm just like, man, I wish I could like come up with that off the dome just like you. And unfortunately, I do not have any for you right now. But if I got my mother in here, trust me, she would list them all.
We're definitely gonna have her. Or you guys can comment in the comments below. What are some of your favorite sayings from this region of Albania? I wish I knew some myself, but I just know I can recognize the accent. If I hear it, I'm like, yeah, you're probably from across the border, like over there. So yeah, but you've been to Dibra. Have you been on the Albanian side or the Macedonian side?
Just the Macedonian side. This year I went in summer, end of July. We spent 3 weeks there. It was a great time. Great
Now,
time.
is it predominantly Albanians in that section of Macedonia?
Yeah, 100.
Yeah,
I can't say, but majority for sure. I
yeah.
don't think there's anyone I've met that's not Albanian there.
I've never been, but you only hear about it, and
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see and I've always wanted to go. And everybody tells me go to Dibra, it's
Mhm.
the best. So I got to check it out
Well,
for myself.
for sure, it's great. And I mean, if you look at the history of it, it was Albanian. So I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
people.
just one of the territories that was lost after
Yeah,
1912.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't think people choose to move to D, but after that, like I don't think Macedonians are gonna say, "Hey, let's move to D," but it doesn't really happen that way.
it's true. It's true Dardanian territory.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so we've spoken quite in depth about the organization and your involvement in the community, but I want to know a bit more about Hakim, the leader. Other than basically running the Dibran community in America at this point, what do you do? Like, what did you pursue after school, and what are your goals for the future?
Yeah. I had a really interesting high school experience, to be honest with you. I kind of knew right away, like going into high school wasn't going to be for me. Looking back at it, do I regret it a little bit? Maybe, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm like passionate about studying history and whatnot.
Oh,
But
really?
I knew school wasn't going to be the avenue for me to attain that knowledge, and study that history properly. So, it's kind of like a double-edged sword in that scenario. Um, but my favorite part about high school was senior year. I got to play football. I was a backup quarterback, and it was a great experience, learning experience. Really taught me work ethic, and I think that was the biggest thing that I got out of high school was the work ethic that I played football with. And that taught me leadership as well. Holding each other accountable, responsibility, um, all that good stuff, all the good lessons, and that took me straight into work. I graduated. We had dinner that night and celebrated my graduation, and I told my father, I said, "Listen, tomorrow I'm coming to work with you. I'm going to learn this business inside out. I'm going to help you take it to the next level, and hopefully, the sky's the limit. I'm locked in. Let's get it."
And
Uh,
in terms of history, what do you like studying? Because I'm a big history fanatic also. What's like your favorite besides Albanian history? What do you
yeah,
like
of course.
to go
I
into?
mean, to be honest with you, I'm all over the place. Like I haven't honed into one historic moment yet, but
Mhm.
the great leaders, the great conquerors. You got Alexander the Great and all those guys. And then you look at Islamic history as well, you know, their path to growth and whatnot, and how they expanded. And one big thing that I learned about the expansion of Islam early on was majority of it was actually spread through business. A lot of people think it was spread, you know, by different means, by the sword, by this, by that. No, a lot of people were impressed by the way that Muslims did business, and they saw that they were fair, and they saw that they never stole, never cheated, or never ripped anybody off. And that really is what impacted a lot of people at that time to follow these people, you know, and treat them. They're like, wow, these guys are honest, fair people. So learning lessons like that through history is really valuable to us. Like, we have to be able to, you know, harness that history and harness that knowledge so we could be better people ourselves.
Okay.
I like
So
that.
maybe you should be connected with someone who has a PhD in history to then get your own PhD or master's in history on the side
Sure.
while you're running the Dibra community and while you're doing the roofing business, and also just casually get your PhD. We expect nothing less of Dibra. Actually, in Albania proper, where I'm from, I was born in Tirana but raised in Boston. There's a saying about Dibran, and it's that they never leave the job half done. And that wasn't supposed to rhyme, but it just happens to rhyme. They always take a job from start to finish, and they don't leave things incomplete. So I think maybe that's part of the culture and the initiative that was transferred over here in the US as well. So can you tell us who you took leadership from or who mentored you?
Yeah, so it goes by Dashmi Miftari. I'm not sure how old he is, but he can't be more than double my age. And he's honestly been a great mentor to me up to this point, through this whole process. I remember it was during Ramadan last year where we were at the mosque. We just finished Tarawih prayer, and we got together in the back, and, you know, they were cooking up some shabab and whatnot, typical Albanian fashion. And I sat next to him. You know, he's always been around my life, you know, here and there, and I never really had a one-on-one relationship with him. You know, it's kind of been like that family friend aspect. He's much older than me, you know, not much for me to have a connection with from a young age. So I approached him. I said, listen, what's going on with this organization? You know, like, you guys did so well. You guys are doing a lot, and you guys accomplished a lot. And I noticed, you know, it got to the point where the organization was going through COVID, and the attendance was falling off, and the fire and the passion was falling off. And I sat down with him. I spoke to him. I said, we discussed everything, all my questions that I had about the organization and whatnot. And I said, listen, I'm interested in running for this organization. And he's like, are you sure about that? He warned me about all the things I gotta endure, and all the things that I have to handle, and all the issues I would have to face. And he gave me his fair warnings, and he's mentored me through a lot of them so far. He did such a great job, but, you know, I really appreciate what he's done for this organization. And honestly, if you think about it, without him, I would not be in this position right now.
Okay, so you've had good mentorship and you're giving him a big shout out at this moment.
Oh, for sure.
Looks like the organization, it looks like the organization is in really good hands in this way forward. And I really do think you're on the right path to be able to get more engagement, and you should really focus on the youth as well and use social media to be able to bring them where you want them to be and to increase that engagement. So I think sometimes it's just a matter of knowing that something exists, that a place is there, and that you can benefit in these multitudes of ways by participating. So that's great. And we want an invite to your next event, whenever that might be. What's happening for Ramadan? It's just 3 months away at this point.
Yes, I think Ramadan, we haven't spoken about it yet, but we mentioned it briefly. And Ramadan is different for everybody, right? Everyone has a different journey going through Ramadan. For me, I told the team, I said, listen, it's a very spiritual journey for me. I like to focus on that aspect of it. We don't want to work too hard during that month. We want to focus on our spirituality, our family, and whatever we got to get done, you know, to put food on the table. Iftar dinners, you know, that's number one. That's the best way to, you know, get people together and do good things during Ramadan and giving charity as well. Charity is very important during Ramadan as well.
Okay. So, Rock, I am going to hand it over to you to do one of our favorite parts of the podcast. You're not safe from it either. We ask everyone these questions, and we're going to ask you as well. So, Rock is going to ask you what your favorites are from Albanian culture in general. So, Rock,
Yeah, we like to get some knowledge of who you are, bro. I mean, for me, I've always tried to figure out what everybody's like favorite foods are and things like this. I'm gonna start out with a little bit of a different one right here.
Yeah.
Who is a I should say a favorite artist or role model, somebody you've always looked up to in the Albanian community that means a lot to you currently today?
It's like a celebrity or like family member? Can it be anybody?
Anything, celebrity, family member, who's like been that one role model, Albanian role model, or somebody that you look after, and
I mean, this is like very typical, but I have to say my father. It has to be my
father.
father. Yeah, that's just
That's not
number one.
typical. Everyone says Skandar Beo. They don't mention their father. The first on this podcast to have given gratitude to their Albanian father. You're
Listen,
on the right path.
if it wasn't for my father, I don't know where I would be right now, to be honest with you. He's obviously had such a major impact on my life. I think I like to think back to some of the very small memories growing up of being asked in the kindergarten and first grade and second grade, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would write on the charts and on the papers, I want to be like my father. I want to be a roofer. I want to be a contractor. So I've always looked up to him. I've always wanted to do what he did. He set such a good example. Never ever was harsh on us. Always led by example. He rarely, sits there and tells you, "Hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't do that." No, it was always by his actions. Even when it comes to prayer, he's prayed consistently his whole life. And I used to walk by him every single day as a kid and watch him pray and go in my room and keep walking past him to the point where I was like asking myself, like, hey, why aren't I doing that either? You know what I mean? So it's like always been led by example. His demeanor in social settings has also been an example for me, seeing how he handles, situations that could be problematic. He's always been calm. He's always kept a good demeanor.
So
And
would you say a lot of this you take after as well, and like what he does or his example of of
it's
life?
funny because if you look at my father, you would never think that his son would be running for a position like this. Like it, the way it works out, like so many of my characteristics come from him, but this is something he would never do. Like my guy just goes to work, doesn't say a thing, comes home, puts food on the table, and that's it. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing more to it. You know what I mean? So
typical Albanian man. It's
that's it.
just yeah, I like
But
that.
yeah, listen, I could talk about him for hours, days, and tell you all the great things he's done for me, and what kind of examples he set. Listen, him and my mother, of course. Listen, without both of them, don't know.
Hey, I like that. So those are your two favorite Albanians, mom and dad. This is the
Of
best thing
course.
to say. Now, if you could get into the, let's say, favorite part of the actual, let's say, Albania region, besides your home place, where's your favorite place in Albania, Kosovo, Macedonia to visit, to go see, to enjoy that one favorite spot?
Unfortunately, I haven't traveled too much around Albania. I did when I was younger, but the memory just does not serve.
Mhm.
But I would love to check out that coastline, man. It's become a very hot, popular tourist attraction, and I would love to spend some time on the beach, man. I haven't been out to the beach enough in the past few years.
Yeah. Yeah, life gets busy, especially now when you're in charge of an organization, man. You got to find that time.
Exactly. Now or never, man.
Are you trying
Oh
to
yeah.
say that the Jersey Shore is not good enough for you and that you'd rather go to Albania?
No. No, 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 no. Don't throw
Uh,
Jersey under the bus yet.
Okay.
I don't think it compares that well.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
And how about a favorite Albanian food?
Mhm.
And what was your one favorite dish?
Right. So there's an inside joke between me and my whole entire family. And it's like if that for example, like if I were ever to find somebody, it'd be like, if she can't make buk me grosh, she's not for Hakim. That's the whole line. So it has to be buk me grosh.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Can you
So
explain that to the followers who don't know what that is?
buk me grosh. So we call it grosh. A lot of people call it pasul. Fasule, depending, like, depending on the regional areas, it's a bean soup. So
You just throw the bread in there.
yeah, you throw the bread in there. It needs to be fresh bread. If it's not fresh bread, don't waste your time on the grosh.
Yeah, don't even bother. Don't even bother. I hear you, man. And let's see. Dan, you got any other Albanian questions for him? I'm trying to think of any right now.
I do actually. It's really funny because we call it grosh too, but everyone in the north calls it pasul. And
I say pasul.
right. So okay, so my questions tend to be a bit more about like, how do you see yourself being involved in Albania in the future? And some people are like, I don't want to be involved. I just want to do what I'm doing right now. But do you as Hakim see yourself like having an attachment to the homeland in the future as well, whether it be creating a school or helping an orphanage or anything like that?
So there will always be a place for charity work back home, and anywhere in the world, to be honest with you. Yes, for sure. My heart's definitely there. I would love to make sure that the right attention is given to those places, and raising awareness is very important. A lot of these places back home are just mismanaged. It's not necessarily like a lack of funding, it's the lack of awareness and pressure that we put on the people to take care of it. You know what I mean? So making sure we get the right awareness and holding the right people accountable is really important. And overall, listen, for me in this position, I want to be a stepping stone for the future generation. This is not something I want to do forever. This is something that I'm doing to build a foundation for future generations to take to the next level. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure we steer it and set it up in the right direction and put the right people in place to take it.
Okay. Well, to be able to do that, you have to be kind of legendary in your leadership, and you have to set up things during your time holding that presidency that will sustain for years on end after you leave as well. So we wish you the best of luck with that, and we're here to support you in any way that we can in reaching that mission. But I think before we sign off here, I wanted to ask, what differentiates your organization from other organizations out there that do this kind of community involvement and have Albanian heritage?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great other organizations out there, and they all do a really good job. They all specialize in something different. So a lot of these organizations are great at running events. A lot of them are great at running programs. A lot of them are great at raising money.
Yeah.
So for me, what I'm passionate about, I'm not going to say that we do it different or better or whatnot, is the youth development. The youth development is important. I'm second generation here, and I'm already getting a little worried. Like, what about my kids? Are they going to have that culture and that heritage? Are they going to remember? So it's really setting up those younger people who just haven't had an opportunity to showcase what they can become. Taking full advantage of our potential is what I want our organization to do. Is
Okay.
take. Yep.
And I really hope you can, bro, because as you see some Albanians from back home, you see Albanians from Kosovo or Albania from Macedonia. Whenever we do get handed the opportunity to do something, no matter if it is athletics, if it is education, if it's a regular job, we do work at it 110%. So, hopefully your organization does create this for the future, because I would like to see it as an Albanian from United States. I was not born here, but I've been here my whole life. And for me to see all these foundations taking off as they are now, as I'm seeing yours, it's a cool thing to see. And I get amazed every time I see a new one open up or something new being created, because we do need these, organizations here in the United States, because Albanians here, typically, you're not one of them, even though you are second generation. They do forget their roots, and they do forget who they are. They do forget their language. They do forget a lot of aspects of who they are. And seeing this, I am proud that you guys are doing this, and I hope it grows to the level of, where you dream of taking it. And I can see it happening. So, I wish you luck in that, and I hope it continues to grow, man. And I will help as well. So I like
And
this.
Hakim, quick question. If people want to reach you and the organization, where can they find you online?
Yes, so Instagram is great, Facebook is great. It's Shoqata Atdhetare Dibra. We are currently working on setting up the email. It should be live. It's info@dibra.org. If you want to send any email inquiries, send it through there. The social media is great. So those are the two best places. I do want to mention real quick, for people reaching out, for people, who want to make a name for themselves, we are looking for all different kinds of talents, graphic designers to design flyers, and, people who could volunteer. And we want to offer you guys an opportunity to help and possibly make a name for yourselves,
Love that.
And this is an organization where you know directly where your money is going. If you choose to donate, the organization is very grassroots. You see the events taking place, you see the students being helped, you see athletics being developed. So it's definitely something to look into donating if Ramadan is coming up or there's other things that you would like to give back to the community for. So Hakim,
And I'm sorry to cut you off. If you do have the link for us, Hakim, you can send it to us so we can put it on our description on our podcast page, so people can, after they watch the video, they can donate if they choose to.
Appreciate it. I'll send it over.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Hakim. Thank you for taking us a bit on the journey and history of Dibrans in America, your grandfather, who you are, and how you're leading the organization.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you. Nice to meet you as
another
well.
podcast session. Talk to you soon. Bye.